folks, welcome back to another video, and today it's going to be a little bit of a different one. Today we're doing something a little bit more unique, especially for this channel. We're taking a look at a bootleg. This is the CT Toys Amazing Spider-Man Mafex bootleg. So in simpler terms, this is a bootleg of the Mafex #1, that very sought after figure. And I hadn't gotten any of the CT Toys figures before, those bootlegs. I hadn't gotten any of them until this was pre-ordered, or till this was up for pre-order. However, I navigated AliExpress a little bit incorrectly, and back in December, I think it was, I actually accidentally ordered the Across the Spider-Verse CT Toys knockoff Miles Morales. I didn't really want that. And the original was such a thin figure to begin with, and the CT Toys is just kind of flimsy and stuff. It's cool for what it is. I don't think I'll really do a video on it. I may down the road. I may do that down the road. But as of right now, that's not in the cards. I want to focus on this. This is the thing that I care about. I'm personally a huge fan of this Spider-Man suit. I was very excited for the movie when it came out when I was 9 years old at the time. Unfortunately, I didn't get to see it in the theater, but me and my mother did go up to get it the very night. So, like, back in the day when Walmart was open 24 hours, we went up the night that it would have come out. So we went up there at like 11:30. By the time we got there, it was 12, and they were just putting this. I don't even think they had it out of the boxes yet, and we asked for one of them, and we watched it that night. So I have very fond memories of this specific film. But yeah, I'm a very big fan of this figure, this costume. I had the game, I had the 3 3/4 inch figure, I had the costumes. So yeah, this is something I've been very excited for. I only really have one other Amazing Spider-Man 1 figure, and we'll get into that in a minute. So yeah, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this. Hold on a second, folks. My rambling got me distracted. I forgot to go ahead and give you guys a 360 of this guy. Largely it's very similar to the original packaging. It's essentially just like the original packaging if it was the size of a SH Figuarts figure. So, yeah. You can see it doesn't have any of the legal information on it or anything like that. But it's largely very similar. Anyway, now let's get into it. Alright guys, so here's the figure out of the packaging, and I have to say that I'm pretty blown away with how this guy's come out. It's very accurate to the original version of the figure, the original Mafex. It's very accurate in the way that it's put together and the way that it's constructed. And also the tasm 1 figure is very similar to the tasm 2, and I have the tasm 2 figure, but like you can see that they even have the break in the sculpt right here. You can see where those two pieces meet, because they have translucent plastic in the eyes to give this kind of depth in the eye. So this whole front piece is translucent plastic, and then it's painted, which is exactly how they did the Amazing Spider-Man 2 figure, and I'm assuming, of course, the original. So that's very cool. The original figure probably used more of a soft plastic for the chest, which is what the Amazing Spider-Man 2 figure does. This doesn't really feel like soft plastic. It has a little bit of a give to it, but I think that's just because it's a little bit of a softer plastic. It's still the same hardness as this. It's not exactly the same exact design. The original allowed for kind of pliability in the torso when you crunched. The shoulder design is very similar to what I've seen with the tasm 2. This is all just essentially a direct copy, which of course most bootlegs are. But the reason that I bring it up being a direct copy is because if you guys remember those original Mafex figures, they weren't the highest quality in terms of their build, their construction. They were a little bit weak. I remember I had my I think it was the Mafex 02, which was the first Dark Knight Batman, or the 3. No, I think it was the 2. That figure got swiped off a table and it broke in a million pieces. So, like, these original figures, they weren't great. I have the TASM 2 figure, which is the Mafex 03, and that figure I've had some problems with, and we'll get into that in a minute. But this figure feels incredible for being a bootleg. It smells like a nice new figure. It doesn't smell toxic. It smells maybe a little bit chemically, but not too bad. Largely smells like just a regular figure. It's very strong. It can hold its poses very nicely as of right now. It works out really well. Like, it's using this original Mafex construction, but it's doing it at a lot stronger of a capacity. So I'm very pleased with that. Really, the only blemish that this figure has is these little wrinkles back here, which seem to be universal. I'm not entirely sure what's the deal with that, since the original figure had a soft torso. I don't know if that was some sort of damage that happened in the molding process. That would be my assumption. Luckily, it didn't happen on the front. They were able to preserve that. But yeah, the biggest failure that this figure runs into is that it's smaller than the original. Now, that's not inherently a bad thing, because the original's too tall. Where it becomes a problem is that it's too small compared to some figures. I mean, right here they look about head to head, but if you actually stand these up on the table, this is a little bit shorter. Now, obviously you don't want that because Andrew's supposed to be the tallest. However, there are some figures that you can probably pair him with if you're worried about that. For me, I'm not really, and I'll get into why. But I think we're going to revisit the figure in just a moment, and we're going to really quickly go over the accessories that it comes with. First up, you get a stand. This is not based off of a Mafex stand. This is based off of an SH Figure Art stand, I believe. I got a very similar stand, if not the exact same stand, with my Miles Morales CT Toys figure. I'm not going to open it. I'm not interested in this at all. It's not very good quality, and I wouldn't recommend using it for your figures, especially your official figures that are quite expensive. It's not very good quality at all. In terms of the other accessories, you get 3 webs. You get 2 long thwipping webs. These are their older design, the Mafex older design. Long thwipping webs and a long swinging web. Very nice. You get 2 pairs of wall crawling hands, of course. 2 pairs of relaxed hands. 2 pairs of flipping hands, and you can see right there that they transferred over that detail pretty nicely. They don't look too soft. There's a little bit of softness, but I don't have the original figure, so I can't tell you if that's on the original or not. I would assume it is, since it's, about 11 years old at this point, if not 12. A pair of thwipping hands. Web grabbing hands, rather. And then, of course, the fists on the figure. So those are all the accessories that the figure comes with. I'm positive those are all the accessories that the original figure came with. I don't think it came with any other accessories at all. I mean, it's possible that it came with a skateboard in the backpack, but I'm pretty sure it didn't. I think only the Figma and then the Amazing Spider-Man 2 did. And I guess the Hasbro one. But anyway, moving on, the overall colors here, they look very, very charming. I like them a lot. It's a very nice poppy blue. It's kind of more of a muted red, a little bit more of a realistic red that we'd see in a Spider-Man suit in real life. But it's not quite as muddy as the real suit is. You get these black lines running throughout, very nicely done. For the most part, it's pretty clean. And I'm sorry if my hand looks really greasy, that's due to the exposure. But yeah, this looks really, really sharp. There's a little bit of a color contrast between the plastic on the legs. All right, I should say probably, I don't know, this is paint. But this is a completely different color. These joints and these joints and these joints are different colors from this blue right here, and then especially the painted blue down here. So yeah, but overall it looks really good. You got the silver down here. I mean, for a knockoff figure, this looks incredible. The paintwork is better than what you see on some Mafexes in general now. But yeah, it's like, I'm looking at it here in person and through the viewfinder, and I'm not seeing any really any mistakes. I mean, the kind of the thickness of the web changes, kind of oddly, but like it still looks clean. Is it largely accurate? Not really, but it's pretty accurate to the original figure. But like, I think one thing that this figure has that the original didn't is that the original probably had that sort of more semi-gloss, glossy finish, whereas this looks like it's paint all over the figure. It doesn't have that Hasbro shine, that glossy shine that a lot of figures have. This looks like it's already been painted like a custom. It's just very clean and matte looking. They did a really nice job on this. The bicep, not the bicep, in between the bicep and the tricep here, you have a little bit of gloss right there, which I've just noticed. But like overall, everywhere else, it's pretty good. Maybe a little bit glossiness on the knees, but I'm not too worried about that. Oh, sorry about that, guys. But yeah, I think this dude looks really good. We're gonna zoom out here. And again, I'm sorry about the background. Their furnace is going. I'm in the basement. You can hear pipes. You can hear the furnace. I can't wait to be able to get back into the garage when the temperature warms up. That's why a lot of videos haven't been going on over the winter, because I just can't get them to sound good with the tools that I have at my disposal right now. But yeah, there's the figure in all of its glory. It's really, really, really nice. It's very similar to what you would see today in terms of the articulation, but Mafex just does it a little bit differently. So let's go over that. We get a joint in the neck and the head, and those both combined, you can get him to look up this far and look down this far, which is really, really nice. And then, of course, you get all kinds of attitude and tilt and swivel, all of everything that you want. You can get it in this guy. And again, he feels really sturdy. There's a ball joint going into the body, and then a hinge. So with those combined, you can get just under the horizontal, which isn't perfect, but whatever. A swivel. You can see it appears to be a little bit floppy, but it's not. It's holding its pose. It's just kind of gappy, and it has a lot of places to go, but it's not. It'll hold its pose nicely. You can shift those shoulders up if you'd like to, but you get a rotation there and stuff. A bicep swivel. Double jointed knees. You can see there's metal in the arm, just like the original figure. Yeah, the web shooters appear to be black instead of blue, which is a little bit interesting. You get a wrist joint, standard wrist joint in the hand there. You can put it in any sort of configuration that you want to. And it doesn't feel overly weak or anything like that. I have more SH Figure Arts figures that feel less sturdy in the wrist than this does. As far as the torso, the diaphragm, and the ab crunch combined, or I should say the waist joint and the diaphragm joint combined, can move back that far. It can move forward this far. Not a whole lot. Oh, shoot. I thought that was bad for a second. I didn't realize how far I had to go in. But yeah, not a whole lot of movement there, but you can adjust that if you'd like to. It's not too bad. Some tilt either side, rotation on both, and stuff like that. The legs, oh my goodness, and I'm positive the original figure wasn't able to move that far. But yeah. You do get drop down. So you get a lot of articulation right there. The leg is able to move that far forward. So even though the torso doesn't go very far, you can still get a lot of articulation out of that. The thigh swivel, you do get a little bit back too, but the thigh swivel, the double jointed knees, the ankle, it's a ball joint for the ankle, so you can get that again in any sort of configuration that you want. Incredible ankle pivot. You can go back pretty far, forward really nicely, and a nice toe joint right there. So yeah, guys, the articulation on this guy is very, very good. And again, he feels really sturdy. If you've been on the fence for this guy, let me remind you that if you get him from AliExpress, this was like $25. This is the price of a Marvel Legends figure. And it doesn't even really need any work. It looks really good. You can set this on your shelf, and it just looks like, for the most part, straight out of the movie. The movie had a little bit more detail and stuff like that, and you had a lot of battle damage, but for the most part, this just looks really good. I think the proportions are a little bit off compared to Andrew Garfield. A lot of people consider Andrew Garfield really lanky, and he is, but I think he's got a little bit more length in the torso than in the legs. I think the SH Figure Arts has a perfect build for him. I think the original head's a little bit too small, and of course the neck is too long. But in terms of the neck down, the build is very accurate in my opinion. And some people disagree with that, but whatever. I think he's more torso than he is legs, and I think this figure really pulls that off over this one. But it is what it is. One of the reasons that I think that the height on this guy doesn't bother me is because I just want a stand-in for this suit. Another stand-in for this suit. The reason I'm not too worried about the height is because we're already receiving Mafex figures for No Way Home. And from what I can remember, the Mafex Andrew Garfield figure is again going to be labeled as The Amazing Spider-Man 2 instead of No Way Home. I'm sure Mafex still has the rights to the first film. So especially with this guy coming out, Mafex is going to want a piece of that pie. They can see that there's demand for this figure. There's demand for Spider-Man in general. I don't see Mafex holding off on doing a new version of their original #1. I don't see them holding off. I think they're going to do it. It might take them 5 years to do it, but I think that it is coming, and we will see it, a new version of the #1, and that one will fit much better in scale than this one does, or the original, because the original is too tall, or the Figma, anything like that. So I don't think we'll have to wait very long for Mafex to at least tease something, but I could be wrong. Anyway, that is the review on the figure. Again, I'm very happy with it. I recommend it incredibly highly. But we're going to do one more thing. Of course, we're going to take a look at some size comparisons, so stay tuned. All right, guys, so the first up comparison we're going to go with are some newer, well, one newer figure and one that a lot of people have that are Andrew fans. We have the newest Marvel Legends Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. As you can see, this is a custom. It's black suit. This one, his height has been adjusted a little bit. I shaved his soles off because it was dumb. So he's got just a little bit less height than what you would have. This figure has gone through and is still currently going through incredible amounts of customization. I've painted the red, or at least I've touched up with the red. I've shortened the length of the overall figure because I got the legs, the balls of the hips going deeper into the thighs, and I have the overall legs going higher into the body. The shoulders have been adjusted. The face is getting painted again. There's a lot of different things going on here. So again, this figure would be even taller compared to yours. I love doing size comparisons, but with a lot of my figures, that's kind of pointless because I adjust the figures so much. So unfortunately, it's not a 1-to-1, but you can get an idea of how much smaller this guy would be compared to his original version. So moving that out of the way, we're going to go with another one. This is one that I'm interested to see because I know that this figure is largely too small for everything else. And I will be doing a video on this figure because I got it not too long ago. And I'm filling time because I forgot to get him all straight up and down. This is the Reveltech Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. This is the official. I've had a bootleg, but this is, in fact, the official figure. I got it from Singapore. And it took forever to get here. But anyway, because the dude didn't ship it out until like 2 weeks later. But anyway, and then here is the Figma. One of my favorite Spider-Man figures in the collection is this Figma. He's absolutely ridiculous looking in terms of his joints and the color of his joints. And the actual overall color of the suit is not accurate at all, but I just love this figure. He's got some great articulation. He's got incredible paint work. He's just such a classy figure, in my opinion. It's an example of taking a lot of creative liberties, but then also taking some risks in terms of the overall construction and the aesthetic, and I just really, really like it. The paintwork is phenomenal on it. And then again, here's the Reveltech Toby figure. Not a lot of people even know about this figure, let alone have it, because it's pretty hard to find. But I was interested to see this. I think this size dynamic works out well enough. You get yourself a better head, which I'm working on, and I think those work out really nicely. And these are almost the same height, but he's not standing perfectly aligned right there. So yeah, there's that one. One just for shits and giggles. Oh, here he is compared to the Spider-Man Trilogy Anniversary Gargoyle-based Spider-Man. So this figure is a Hasbro figure released after the Spider-Man trilogy was completed. It's kind of almost like a Spider-Man Classics line. You can see he towers over this figure incredibly. Yeah, so there's that. This is not the same figure that I said that I was going to be doing a customization on like a year ago. That figure is still on this is the second version. I have the other one, and it's coming along very nicely. I actually completely painted the colors on it before, but I didn't like the way that it did, the way that it worked out. So I'm doing it again with the airbrush, and it's coming out very nicely. And I actually do have more to say on in terms of the customization in just a second. But our last and final size comparison is going to be between the recent SH Figuarts Spider-Mans. As I can see now, I forgot to grab Tom's, which I don't know why. But anyway, if you have these two figures, which I'm sure you guys do, you can get an idea of how this guy will stack up. He's going to be almost the same height as Toby and Tom. It's not a huge deal if you have them posed up. If you have them standing straight up and down, it's a little bit of a problem. But I think this dude works out really well overall. So I'm just going to give my closing thoughts right here, and while these guys are standing right up there. I do plan on doing a video on this once it's been fully customized. I'm going to be adjusting the colors and trying to make it as accurate as possible. I think the Amazing Spider-Man 1 suit has some very, very unique aspects to it, especially with the way that the webs are done. Because if you look at some images of the suit, and I will throw up pictures so you guys can get an idea of what I'm talking about, you have some parts of the suit where the suit just has the red fabric and then the black webbing. But there's also some areas where the honeycomb pattern is so pronounced that it almost makes it look like the webbing has a white or has a red highlight around it, because you have so much dirt and muck on the suit that the fresh, nice, clean red areas around the webbing almost stand out more than the webbing. It's very interesting. It's hard to explain, but I'll throw pictures up like I said. But also this suit goes through hell in the movie. So I've got some very nice potential in terms of battle damage, which I'm very, very excited to do. I don't really do battle damage on much of my Spider-Mans, but this one is one that I think deserves it a lot, because it goes with the tone of the movie. But I have so many different things on the workbench right now that I haven't been completing. So this figure is going to stay as is for as long as possible. I'm tired of getting figures and just immediately taking them apart, because I'm excited to do a customization. So then I just have a bunch of parts and stuff everywhere of figures that I'm working on and off. So this guy is not going to get started until at least a few other figures get completed. I started doing the shoulder transplant on this guy about a year ago, and I just finally started working on the other shoulder probably a month and a half ago. And he just needs to get completed. This figure, I have a little bit more of a unique idea. It needs to get completed. The other version of this figure that I just mentioned, that needs to get completed. I have a Homecoming Mafex Spider-Man that I'm working on. I have a lot of different things down the pipeline that I want to get done and show people, because I love customizing so much, but I never get the figures done. So stay tuned for a video on this. Unfortunately, it's not going to be anytime soon, but I think it is time to shut up and get out of here. Again, closing thoughts. Get this guy. He is well worth it. I mean, come on. If you don't want this one, you want the official figure, what, you're going to spend $700 on it? Come on. Get this guy. It's well worth it. That's all I got to say. And of course, until next time, true believers.